So today we're taking on Screen Chops a very interesting look at one of the most kind of indirectly controversial movies of the 1990s. Now, 1997 Starship Troopers, on all indications before release, seemed to be poised for a big hit. Now, that interesting European director, Paul Verhoeven, who is basically considered a James Cameron of Europe, very over-the-top creator of tribute movies, commissioned a script from something called Bug Hunt at Outpost 9 and took the title of the name from the book Starship Troopers, which has nothing to do with the plot of this movie, or very little to do. Now, the story, with fascist overtones of all things, follows a young soldier named Johnny Rico, played by that ever-handsome Castor Van Dien, and his exploits in what was called in the movie the Mobile Infantry, a futuristic military unit. Now, this unit would fight in outer space, and in this case, they're fighting an arachnid colony, and literally that's what it sounds like. Huge killer bugs that are causing problems for the Earth. Now, it was the only theatrical film released in the Starship Trooper series, and because there's been several sequels since then with direct-to-video or straight on TV, and it didn't get very good reviews, although it made back most of its budget of $105 million of all things, because the special effects were quite expensive. It basically broke even, but became a superstar hit on television since the last 22 years. Now, in this federation, just like some, fascist federations or countries of the past, citizenship is only based on if you serve in the army, including, military service, and you get more opportunities than regular civilians. Now, the big threesome of the movie, Johnny Rico, his girlfriend, Carmen Ibanez, and their best friend, Carl Jenkins, which Neil Patrick Harris plays, are attending high school in Buenos Aires, even though none of the main characters speak Spanish, which is pretty weird. And it's a kind of a romantic thing, because there's a beautiful redhead, Dizzy Flores, that falls in love with Rico, and Rico is still in love with Carmen. Even Carmen wants to be a pilot, so it's like that old threesome, but in reverse, two women in love with the same man. When he enlists in the federal service, Carl becomes more of a sounding board for the threesome. He goes into games and theories because he has ESP, efforts. Now, it goes from they go to military school, they're trained, and they're called up to fight the bug colony. In this battle, that the bugs get the upper hand. As it goes along, many in Johnny's platoon either die or are replaced, and he meets up with a character that was actually a teacher of him in school, and he runs a platoon played by the ever great Canadian character actor Michael Ironside. Now, I was considering doing a part of my best supporting actor snubs on Michael Ironside, but I couldn't just keep it to one movie, because Total Recall, he was tremendous. Some of the Cronenberg films, and Michael Ironside just is basically so over the top and so interesting everything he does. Now, the big denouement is the invasion force goes to Klandathu, which is the Arachnid's home planet, but the operation, it's a total disaster, because as part of the plot device, the bugs and their, the brain bugs and their leaders basically find a way to get into people's brains, literally and figuratively. Like, they find out what they're going to do, and in some cases they literally suck the brains out of the troopers. And let me tell you, to see the scene of Patrick Muldoon, who plays the paramour of Carmen Ibanez character, getting his brains sucked out. If anybody's seen him on Saved by the Bell or his soap opera years, has seen Patrick Muldoon, a very handsome actor, but very himbo, getting his brains sucked out, probably ranks as one of the most interesting moments in science fiction history. Now, as the movie goes on, it's basically all your old military tropes, a little bit of fascist overtones. And here's the problem comes in. Like Casper Van Dien, Dina Meyer, Denise Richards, Jake Busey has a great performance as well, Neil Patrick Harris, Patrick Muldoon. They are considered almost Aryan. There's only one major black character in the movie, and blonde, blue-eyed. That's where the movie got into trouble. Verhoeven was trying to do a parody of these type of movies, and it wasn't taken as a parody. It was almost seen as a recruitment for white supremacists who would want to have that type of force to fight against unseen people. Now, I must say this, and this is something that I always give a warning on. If you're under the age of 14, I would not suggest watching this movie. And if you hate bugs, like a lot of people do not watch these movies. Some of the special effects involving the bugs and the bug invasion is like a combination of War of the Worlds, Mars Attacks. There's some very, very intense scenes. And, the big brain bug is very disgusting. It's almost like a sloth, combined with a large mutant. Now, the movie is very entertaining. It's one of my top 100 movies of all time. I've gotten into a lot of trouble with my movie and media colleagues over the year for bragging this movie up. I basically think the movie itself is a moment in time where everything in science fiction needed a little bit of humor. And I thought it was going to make Castor Van Dien into a superstar, but unfortunately it hasn't. He had appeared in very key movies before and after, but he's never really hit the level he should have. Now here's the funny part. When the movie first came out, and a couple of years later, some of my coworkers got very confused as to who Casper Van Dien was. One of my former coworkers argued me for nearly 2 months that James Van Der Beek was in the movie. I can't tell you exactly how this started, but this woman claimed that she saw the movie with her boyfriend, and they drove all the way home saying how good James Van Der Beek was. And James Van Der Beek is not in this movie. He was in Dawson's Creek. He was too busy, cashing big paychecks for being on one of the best nighttime soaps of the, late 1990s, early 2000s. And I've never spoken to the woman since we're no longer working together. And it was a point in fact, I told her to her face, I said, listen, if you read the trade publications and you read the information when Starship Troopers come up, it's not James Van Der Beek, it's Casper Van Dien. She basically said I was full of crap, and I was only there to argue with her, make fun, and I was a hateful bugger. She didn't say the word bugger. She said something else that rhymes with bugger. ER word, I can't repeat. Anyway, for that person, I must say, James Van Der Beek is not in this movie. It's Casper Van Dien. And Casper Van Dien, again, a very, very beautiful man, very good actor, but for some reason, maybe because Channing Tatum came along, or Hemsworth, or whatever, he's been left out. He would have made a great Captain America. By God, he looks like Captain America in the movie. And there's certain scenes in there that only he could have done, because he's not a high level actor, but he's so much of a B level actor. Like if Robert Ryan was nicer looking and basically was blonde. Robert Ryan, was a great actor, great character actor. He has aspects of like a young Robert Ryan, which is kind of bizarre because you're saying to yourself, who's Robert Ryan? Look it up. Anyway, so on this cold, stormy night, as we like to say in the Starship Troopers genre, do you want to live forever? Well, I want to live forever, but I know one thing, this movie will live forever, because when you see it once, it will stay with you, whether you like it or not. It's one of those movies. Either you get it, or you don't get it. And let me tell you, I got it at first viewing, and watching it at the Paramount in Campbellton, with all that great audio up at that venerable location in Campbellton, boys, it was a thing. And it was nominated for Academy Award for special effects, so it's a tremendous, what do you call it, Sunday afternoon movie like we just had today. So anyway, hope this finds you well. Keep your stick in the ice. Bye.